The Galactic Empire's emissary ship emerged from the void above Earth with the confidence of a predator entering a pasture. Massive, gleaming, drenched in gold and ego. They transmitted on all frequencies, every language already translated through their neural AI. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Pax Imperialis. Prepare to assimilate. Resistance will be met with precision and regret. Silence followed. A beat. 2. Then Earth responded with a single phrase. You're kidding, right? The transmission was live. Earth's Global Council had convened, patched into all networks. At first, a pause, expected deliberation. Then laughter. Loud, chaotic, unfiltered. One representative choked on coffee. Another had to mute their mic from cackling too hard. The signal carried it all. The Galactic Ambassador blinked with all 9 of his eyelids. He checked the translator notes. No malfunction. The humans were, apparently, laughing. Back aboard the Empire's command cruiser, alarms chimed. Not from threat, but confusion. Cultural analysis droids scrambled to explain. Primitive emotional release? No, this is joy. No, this is defiance disguised as joy. A warning was prepared. Rebroadcast. This is not a negotiation. This is your only chance for orderly assimilation. Earth's reply was swift. Got it. Here's our formal response. A video file was attached. Title: Imperial Invasion, the sitcom. 30 minutes of sketch comedy. Complete with costumes, laugh tracks, sound effects, and a fake alien voice yelling. Bow before me, humans, or I'll monologue you to death. They acted out the entire Empire Demand scene. One actor wore a colander as a helmet. Another walked a golden retriever labeled Planet Killer. The Emperor tripped over his cape and declared, "Assimilate these nuts." It went viral within an hour. Not just on Earth. Pirate feeds leaked it to fringe colonies. Rebel sectors added subtitles in 30 languages. Black market traders sent it across border zones. Within 72 hours, half the galaxy had seen it. The other half was quoting it. Back on the Empire's war bridge, the ambassador screamed. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Species were meant to tremble, to kneel, to plead, not remix their own surrender into a dance challenge. Empire analysts debated. Was this defiance? Cultural camouflage? A psychological defense? Or the most dangerous possibility? They're genuinely not afraid. Earth doubled down. News anchors wore cardboard armor. School children did dramatic readings of the ultimatum in Shakespearean tones. Memes flooded the nets. Alien ships photoshopped into duck floats. Pax Imperialis turned into a soda brand. A single message trended galaxy-wide. If we're going down laughing. But Earth wasn't going down. They were going viral. An empire? For the first time in centuries. They hesitated. The Galactic Empire, still reeling from Earth's sketch comedy surrender, decides to follow standard protocol. Deploy an intelligence probe. Not a weapon. A recon AI. Top tier. Cold logic. No emotion. Its purpose: scan the planet, analyze defenses, assess technological maturity, and report threat potential. It descends in stealth orbit, cloaked in gravitational camouflage. No Earth instruments detect it, officially. Unofficially, a weather balloon video posted to TikTok shows a weird metal jelly bean floating near Colorado. The AI disregards it. Humans are primitive, after all. The scam begins. It interfaces with Earth's network. Find chaos. Encrypted satellites, unsecured refrigerators, thousands of social platforms. It tries parsing human communication protocols. It sees conspiracy theories about pigeons being drones. Debates about whether hot dogs are sandwiches. People role-playing as medieval frogs selling soup. A forum dedicated entirely to AI pickup lines. The AI hesitates. It digs deeper. The first signal it receives is a compressed GIF. A cat on a desk. It stares at a laser pointer, then deliberately pushes it off the table. A second file arrives moments later. A full HD recording of Monty Python's Ministry of Silly Walks. The AI attempts categorization. Fails. Attempts emotional parsing. Fails. Attempts philosophical interpretation. Fatal error. The AI pauses its scan. Issues an internal system alert. Detected cultural transmission. Type: recursive absurdism. Result: logic destabilization. Recommended action: avoid further exposure. But the file keeps playing, and the AI begins twitching. Within hours, the probe files its mission report to the Imperial Central Core. Classified report. Subject: Earth. Cultural structure: fragmented. Intelligence signatures: inconsistent. Signal behavior: irrational. Dominant themes: irony, sarcasm, symbolic contradiction. Mimetic toxicity risk: high. Strategic rating: unknown. Recommendation: avoid prolonged neural interface. Status: potential mimetic hazard. The Empire receives the report and ignores it. After all, Earth is unranked on the Galactic Threat Index. No known superweapons. No psychic resistance. No interstellar command. Just noise. Weird, persistent, viral noise. So the Empire prepares a standard response. Not an invasion. A diplomatic containment force. Dozens of ships. Subjugation protocols. Intimidation tech designed to neutralize upstart civilizations. Plans are filed. Uniforms pressed. Speeches prepared. Meanwhile on Earth, something is happening. Not military mobilization. Not evacuations. But online forums light up. Hashtags trend. Hashtag welcome space nerds. Hashtag meme defense force. Hashtag silly walk save lives. Discord servers fill with artists, comedians, retired hackers, and meme archivists. A coalition forms. Unofficial. Unfunded. Unhinged. Codename: Mockery Coordination Protocols. Their goal: not to fight the Empire, but to completely undermine its sense of seriousness. They begin preparing. Digital meme storms. Psychological timing algorithms. Audio files of goats screaming layered with bagpipes. A chatbot named Zargan the comically petty. They aren't scared. They're entertained. The Empire's fleet departs orbit unaware. They think they're entering primitive space. They're entering a planetary hive mind of sarcastic chaos, armed not with nukes, but punchlines. And the first blow was already delivered. A cat, a laser, and a table. The Galactic Empire's diplomatic fleet descends upon Earth with imperial precision. Formation exact. Landing sites predetermined. Their arrival choreographed like celestial ballet. They expect the usual. Panic, kneeling, terrified supplication, or at least respectful silence. What they get is a marching band. As the landing gear settles into the concrete of Earth's most famous diplomatic tarmac, the faint sound of brass instruments swells. Drums thump, trumpets blare. The banners say, "Welcome space bureaucrats. Hope you brought snacks. This is the friendliest invasion ever." The Empire's head envoy blinks his secondary eyes. Is this a military deception? Nope, says a man holding a chuo. It's Thursday. The Imperials march stiffly toward the press center. Their boots crunch over confetti. Human crowds line the walkways, laughing, waving, filming on smartphones. A conga line starts in the background. One diplomat glares at a child wearing a tinfoil hat. The child salutes him with a juice box. They enter the press room. It is chaotic. Bright lights. Talk show hosts. Microphones shaped like ducks. One screen shows a live poll. Will the Empire ask for our Wi-Fi password? The alien leader clears his throat. We are representatives of the Pax Imperialis. You are hereby instructed to comply with. A voice from the crowd interrupts. Oh my God, they sound like the Empire from Star Wars. Laughter erupts. The diplomat falters. We are not satire, but the humans are already adding subtitles to the live stream. The Empire's list of demands is loaded into a holographic scroll. Dozens of lines, domination clauses, tribute schedules. As it unfurls, a human host leans in and says, "Oh, is this a comedy set? I love dry humor." Polite applause. One alien faints from sheer cognitive dissonance. Another diplomat tries to reset protocol. We demand planetary compliance. A man in a robe offers him tea. with or without sarcasm. Earth's elected representative stands. She's wearing jeans and a hoodie that says, "My other planet is more chill." She smiles. "We honestly thought your empire was a satire channel." Wait, she looks at her aide. "You're telling me they're serious?" The audience bursts out laughing. Again, the aliens are sweating, or the equivalent of sweating. Whatever their version of glandular dismay is, it's activated. After a stunned silence, the Empire requests to retreat for recalibration. They call it that. Humans call it what it is. They rage quit the planet. The diplomats board their shuttles in a hurry, stepping around a guy handing out grilled cheese sandwiches labeled peace offerings. As they lift off, one final sign is unfurled on Earth's largest skyscraper. "Thanks for visiting." 0 out of 10 intimidation. Would roast again. In the Imperial briefing room, hours later, the diplomats replay the footage, frame by frame. "This must be a psychological attack," says one officer. "A coordinated counter-humor barrage," suggests another. But the truth haunts them. Humans didn't fear them. They welcomed them, and then roasted them so hard their translators broke. They expected resistance. What they got was performance art with churros. And for the first time, the Empire realizes they may have underestimated the weapon that is collective human ridicule. Imperial analysts gather in a high-security strategy chamber. Dozens of screens show looping footage, human laughter, memes, late-night show segments, out-of-context TikToks with subtitles like Alien Diplomacy Speedrun. This isn't normal. This isn't anything they've seen before. They expected weapon counts, supply lines, faction infighting. They got sarcasm, soundboards, a planet of improvisational chaos. An Imperial psychologist finally speaks. "I have a theory," she says, half in dread. "Their humor is not weakness. It's armor." Others scoff. She pulls up history files. Jokes made during global pandemics. Memes during climate disasters. Stand-up routines from the ruins of economic collapse. Sarcastic graffiti on the walls of bombed cities. They laugh through pain. They lean into it. The room quiets. A general barks. They lack discipline, respect. They're feral. Another counters. No, they're familiar with destruction. That's worse. They study more Earth literature. Absurdist plays about death. Satire about leadership failure. Comic books where the end of the world is background noise. They find a pattern. Every crisis on Earth eventually breeds jokes, rituals, resilience. A grim-faced admiral stares at the data. "Why are they not afraid of us?" A young analyst finally answers. "Because they survived each other." The silence that follows is the kind that empires fear most. Further scans reveal Earth's vast library of speculative disaster fiction. Nuclear winter, alien invasions, AI uprisings, zombie plagues, economic ruin, social collapse. Each one written, joked about, mocked, debated before it ever happened. They don't just prepare for worst-case scenarios, one officer says. They satirize them, file them under comedy. A cultural historian speaks next. There's a recurring theme across all Terran responses. They never treat catastrophe with reverence. In fact, the more sacred a threat becomes, the faster it turns into parody. One admiral slams a fist on the table. This makes them unpredictable, illogical. The historian shakes her head. No, it makes them unshakable. The Empire begins to understand something terrifying. Humanity is the only species they've encountered that doesn't rely on unity through obedience, but through mockery of the very systems that fail them. They don't hide from fear. They weaponize it. A psychological warfare specialist reviews battlefield footage. In past empires, jokes meant breakdown. In Earth's forces, jokes precede breakthroughs. Laughter on the edge of mutiny? Normal. Roasting leadership in open comms during firestorms? Common. One file shows a human pilot making dad jokes while barrel rolling through enemy cruisers. It wasn't madness. It was method. Final conclusion from the advisory panel. Humanity's dominant trait is not aggression. It's absurdity. They survive through humor. They destabilize through confusion. And they win through narrative control. A red line warning appears at the bottom of the scroll. They laugh because they've already imagined your worst. And worse. And they lived. The Galactic Empire, still bruised by Earth's irreverence, decides it's time for a lesson. They initiate a limited demonstration strike, a calculated display of force on a quiet, outer system near the Barcus 7 colony. Minimal resistance expected. High propaganda value. Low risk. They call it Operation Silence. Earth calls it content. Before the Empire's fleet even arrives in orbit, a signal appears. Incoming Terran response. Just one ship. A small corvette, outdated by Imperial standards. Designation, USS Chucklehead. The name alone irritates command staff. This is the best they can muster, the Empire's admiral growls. Then the broadcasts begin. At first, it's just static. Then, a laughter. Recorded human laughter. The kind used in sitcoms from centuries ago. It loops. Then comes the video feed, clips from something called Whose Line Is It Anyway?, followed by a rapid-fire montage of stand-up comedians from every era of Earth's history, all overlaid with sarcastic commentary about the Empire's fleet. Nice engine array, buddy. Is that a plasma drive or a hairdryer duct-taped to a shoehorn? Their flagship looks like a vending machine with wings. Is your targeting array standard? Or is it part of your emotional support turret? The broadcast spreads across frequencies. The Empire flagship, Glory's Fist, attempts countermeasures. But it's too late. Half the bridge crew is chuckling. A sensor officer is biting their lip. The weapons operator tries to fire manually. But targeting keeps slipping. He can't focus. The crew begins quoting punchlines. On duty, the Chucklehead doesn't fire a single shot. Its AI announces, "We have detected elevated blood pressure from your leadership." That's either rage or embarrassment. Let's assume both. For safety, please remove all sharp object from your dignity. Then the feed shifts again. A live comedy roast, starring impersonations of the Empire's admiralty. The impersonator playing the supreme strategist wears oversized shoulder pads made of pillows. The punchline? I don't fear war. I fear his PowerPoint presentations. The Glory's Fist finally opens fire. The beam misses, not because of evasion, because the targeting software freezes. Diagnostics show no virus, just feedback errors, anomalous mental interference, laughter-induced disruption. Even the AI struggles. It asks, is this a battle or a sketch? The Chucklehead closes in, still unarmed, still joking. That broadcasts one final statement, text only. The Empire loses, not because we're stronger, but because you can't win a war against someone who turns fear into punchlines. No sound, no music, just silence. And then, the Empire's ship surrenders. Officially, they claim power fluctuations. Unofficially, they were memed into submission. The report back to the Empire's Central Command contains a single line. Recommend psychological reevaluation of our threat models. Earth does not wage war. Earth wages comedic disarmament. The Empire had begun Operation Silence. But Earth? Earth answered with a punchline, and the galaxy heard it. After the Barcus 7 incident, the Galactic Council convenes an emergency session. Enough is enough. The humans have mocked tradition, disrupted military structure, and turned fear into farce. So the Council does the only thing it believes might restore order. It summons Earth's leadership for an official audience. Expectations are high. Dozens of empires gather in the Grand Assembly Hall. Marble spires, levitating seating tiers, dignitaries dressed in the ceremonial garments of 1,000 worlds. Then Earth arrives, on time, in tuxedos, kilts, LED jackets, Star Wars cosplay. One person's dressed as a banana. Council silence. One delegate drops their datapad in shock. The humans walk confidently up the aisle, chewing gum and high-fiving. One carries a portable speaker. They cue music. The humans perform their treaty proposal. Literally, a choreographed musical number. Jazz hands included. Lyrics reference galactic politics, imperial invasions, and the absurdity of taking oneself too seriously. Lines include, "If we join your mighty federation, can we bring sarcasm and vacation?" We promise not to blow stuff up, unless you're rude or spill our cup. Laughter from the audience, just a chuckle at first. Then two aliens accidentally harmonize. The Empire's delegation is not amused. One ambassador yells, red-faced and trembling, "You are mocking the galaxy's order." The Earth representative bows slightly, still smiling. "We mock everything, including ourselves." Keeps us honest. Silence. Then murmurs. Then a slow clap from an old, four-eyed Vrexian delegate. Soon others join. The musical ends with a dramatic mic drop and a confetti cannon. It wasn't authorized. Backstage, the council scrambles. What do we do? They're unserious. No, worse. They're effective. Another alien leader, an old warlord once feared across 9 systems, leans in and says, "They're dangerous. They make nothing sacred. That's how they break empires." Earth leaves without waiting for a verdict. They just wave, bow, and moonwalk out of the hall. No threats. No ultimatums. Just a final slide projected onto the council ceiling. Call us when you're ready to laugh at yourselves. The council doesn't respond. But later that night, in quiet corners of the galaxy's most solemn chambers, laughter is heard. Quiet, but dangerous. The Empire's intelligence division intercepts an encrypted Terran transmission, designated high priority, marked only with a code name. Operation Punchline Protocol. They expect a tactical blueprint, perhaps a plan to sabotage star lanes, corrupt neural nets, or infiltrate planetary defenses. Instead, they decrypt something stranger and far more dangerous. The file isn't a plan. It's a philosophy, a psychological doctrine, a cultural primer, an instruction manual for resilience. The opening line reads, "We've faced extinction. We've faced tyranny. We survived because we refused to be silent. We laughed, not to forget the pain, but to stay human through it." Analysts scoff at first, but the deeper they read, the more unsettled they become. It's not about military might. It's not about weapons or fleets. It's about mindset. An entire species trained through centuries of chaos to mock the darkness. The protocol continues. When the sky burns and the ground breaks, we build shelter with humor. We find sanity in absurdity. Laughter is our shield. Sarcasm is our blade. And satire is the truth we hurl when diplomacy fails. It's not bravado. It's not arrogance. It's a history of enduring horror without letting horror win. One analyst breaks protocol. She starts laughing, not because it's funny, but because it works. The truth slips through the Empire's propaganda, filters like oil through gears. Humanity doesn't fear power because it never relied on it. It relied on something empires could never mass produce. Spirit. Empire Command meets in emergency session. The question echoes around the table. How do you defeat a species that makes comedy out of calamity? One strategist responds, "You don't. You survive them. If they let you." Reports flood in from across the galaxy. Soldiers refusing to fire on humans after watching their broadcasts. Alien youth recreating Earth comedy in secret. Jokes spreading faster than surveillance can contain them. Every meme a micro-rebellion. Every pawn a pressure point. Empires built on fear begin to crack. Because when you laugh at your tyrants, they lose control. And when you laugh at yourself, you become ungovernable. The Empire realizes too late. Humanity's weapon isn't technology. It's not superior ships or quantum tactics. It's ridicule, a form of psychic judo that flips oppression on its back. That confuses enemies, unnerves allies, and destabilizes the rigid systems that take themselves too seriously to survive change. The final paragraph of the transmission reads, "We don't laugh because it's easy. We laugh because it's the only way to carry the weight. And if you try to break us, we'll turn your threats into stand-up material until your empire becomes the punchline." The file self-erases after reading, but the impact lingers. In minds, in corridors, in old council chambers, now echoing with thoughts too dangerous to suppress. Because this is how conquest ends. Not with an invasion, not with annihilation, but with laughter. Sharp, unstoppable, human. It starts as a whisper, A joke told by a junior ensign aboard an alien dreadnought. A Terran-style one-liner, half remembered from an intercepted radio transmission. Why did the war fleet cross the stars? To get humbled by a punchline. His superior officer hears it, doesn't report it. He chuckles. That's how it begins. Across the galaxy, Terran humor spreads like wildfire. Not as a weapon, not as propaganda, but as a contagion of clarity. Memes replace orders. Sarcastic commentary slips into formal diplomatic reports. One admiral writes in a footnote, "This plan has all the elegance of a Terran food fight, and none of the nutritional value." No one punishes him, because his crew can't stop laughing. Earth's comedy is raw, unfiltered, honest. It mocks the powerful, exposes the absurdity of empire, and, most dangerously, makes you feel something. Because once you laugh at what you fear, you stop fearing it. And once you stop fearing an empire, it starts to crack. The Emperor watches in disbelief. He deploys psychological sensors, orders broadcast suppression, demands the seizure of anything labeled Terran laughter units. It only fuels the flames. Within weeks, his daughter launches a secret comedy podcast. Imperial scholars begin translating Earth sitcoms as foundational cultural texts. Black market stand-up recordings become the most traded data in controlled space. And it gets worse. One fleet, entirely elite. Defects, not for ideology, not for freedom. They just wanted to keep laughing. They joined the Terran diplomatic tour. Their ships rebrand with names like Cosmic Cringe, SS Passive Aggressive, the Laughing Nebula. Their hulls get repainted with cartoons. Their comms? Full of jokes. No military can fight that. Because you can't defeat an enemy that refuses to take your war seriously. The Galactic Council scrambles. They invite human ambassadors to explain themselves. The humans show up with popcorn. One of them hands the High Chancellor a joke book. "This is our Constitution," she says. Well, this, plus some good shoes and unresolved generational trauma. The Emperor issues a final decree. Laughter is hereby considered a destabilizing act of rebellion. Any citizen found smiling without cause will be reprimanded. Within 48 hours, the edict becomes a meme. Soldiers graffiti "Smile Zone" on barracks walls. His daughter goes viral reading the decree aloud while laughing. It breaks the last threads of control. War fleets stop answering orders. Civilians organize open mic ceasefire zones. Diplomats begin each session with knock-knock jokes, followed by mandatory sarcasm audits. A high marshal resigns on record, stating, "I try to conquer a people that beat entropy with improv. I yield." And through it all, the human ships keep touring. But they don't drop troops. They drop comedy troops. They don't set up bases. They set up open mics. One former warlord writes a cultural review. It's not propaganda. It's emotional disarmament. He ends his piece with a personal confession. "The first time I laughed at myself, I realized I'd never needed an empire. I needed therapy, and maybe a hug." Alien academies begin teaching Earth comedy as a required subject. New diplomatic officers must pass a class in satirical peacekeeping. Graduates wear pins that say, "Laughter trained, weapons safe." Earth never claims territory, never issues demands. They just leave behind recordings, footage, podcasts, late-night specials, and one message, broadcast across all frequencies: lighten up, or you'll fall apart. And strangely, the galaxy listens. Because it turns out, empires can fall, but laughter rebuilds.